Hey, how's it going? This is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone. So what you're gonna see today is a little different. I've been really sick and I haven't had a voice and I'm still coughing up a lung and stuff. So I did a Facebook Live video this morning that had some really good stuff in it. And so instead of having a normal video today, it turned into kind of like an FAQ. So it's about 30 minutes, but there's a lot of really good stuff in it, and hopefully it will get your wheels turning and maybe help you come up with some questions for me so that we can shoot some more cool content. And then we'll get back on schedule with the normal build projects, the gem, and the setup series that we're doing, and a bunch of other stuff so we can keep shooting this week. But my voice is just kind of so iffy that I didn't want to have my normal videos that are gonna live on in YouTube land have this real gross voice. So so leave questions, definitely. And if this makes you think of anything else, please leave it at the end. Also, if you want me to do more of this kind of stuff, like general FAQ stuff, and you have any other ideas like that, please leave comments about that too, because this is Facebook Live. This is what we do all the time. I mean, I probably do this 4 or 5 times a week, on top of what we do on YouTube. So anyway, I think you'll dig it. There's a lot of good stuff in here, and I just wanted to tell you, I'm sorry for not being all professional today, but that's what we get when my voice is broke. So until next time, my name is Dylan. This is Dylan Talks Tone, and I hope you enjoy what you are about to see. Hey, how's it going? I noticed just now, we're live by the way, in my kitchen. And I'm gonna start making breakfast a little early today. A little early for me anyway. I got a huge day planned. And I've not been feeling well. And for that reason, I've not been making, I didn't get a video shot for the YouTube show today. Or, well, I just didn't get it done because I have been really sick and haven't had a voice. So, I wanted to just do a quick kind of impromptu, or maybe not so quick, or whatever you want to call it, video that I will actually upload to the YouTube channel. Usually I don't upload these live ones, but I'm going to upload it to the YouTube channel today to serve as our video for today because, like I said, I've just not been well and haven't had much voice. And so my throat has just been super screwed up, and so I've been super sick. And I have a huge day today. We have I'm working on another project for another show, and I've kind of gotten pulled into a few different things lately, into a new magazine, a new online magazine, which I believe you all should go check out. It's called, and I don't really have a way to add this, but it's Octavology, that's what it's called. And it's a magazine, an online magazine resource that is going to be for like live working musicians, to have resources to go to technically, technical column, that's what I'm writing. But then there's other people that are doing other stuff like health and wellness and legal advice from people that know that stuff. There's recording studio executives on there. There's all kind of people. There's probably, I don't remember how many people are involved totally, but I want to say it's like 8 or 10 different experts or something, and they're gonna be doing that. So anyway, they invited me to write a column for that. So you'll see more about that. But they already have a Facebook page. It's Octavology. That's what the thing is. You can go check it out. I've already got a column on there, so you can kind of see what we're into. And then I'm starting another show with another guy I gotta go meet today and work on some of the particulars for that. So that's a new thing that I don't I don't have a whole lot of information for you on that one that I can share at the moment, but probably later today you're gonna see more. We're gonna do a Facebook Live, I would say about 10 o'clock Eastern time, and we're going to talk about that stuff. And then I got some other stuff related with that's going on later today, so we got a busy day. Plus we're making piles of pickups. The pickup side is really busy right now. Like really busy. Scotch bonnet pepper. You ever had one of those? They're wicked hot. Be good though. So yeah. So what I want to talk about today. So basically, I just want to put together a quick little video. And I know those of you that are going to watch this on YouTube, that's a little bit of a weird backside intro that you don't normally hear on my real videos, but it just is what it is for today. So. A lot of questions have come up over the YouTube channel and other various places. Even people have given me Facebook messages about cabling and about capacitance and how to measure it. And thank you for sharing that link, Leslie. So the thing about cable capacitance, you're like, well, what is cable capacitance? What does it even matter? What are the quality of my cables even matter? Well, to some people it might not matter at all. It depends a lot on the cleanliness of your overall signal chain. It depends on your guitar and how much, what's the easiest way to say, how high fidelity the pickups are, because capacitance is a filter, right? A capacitor is a filter, or any kind of measured capacitance in any kind of circuit. And if we're looking at the entire guitar circuit from the strings all the way to the amp, any capacitance in that circuit is going to act more or less as a filter. So that the first thing that's going to go is going to be your highs, and if too much of your highs go away, then what can happen is then you can actually affect other frequencies by making like so the easiest way to explain it is, here's your frequencies. If you cut these ones, then you're going to hear these ones more, if that makes sense. So if your lows are down and your highs are down, then your mid-range is going to be higher in relation to the rest of them. You've not boosted anything, but you've cut things away, so now you notice other things more. So it can affect your sound, the overall capacitance of the circuit. There's a few things anyway that relate to that. And one of them is your cable length, because a lot of people think that well, it does affect it. So the reason it works is the center conductor in a cable always is going to lose just because of the way electricity works. It's going to lose energy, okay? And it's basically going to just leak. It's basically just going to be in the cable. AC is going to be in the cable, and it's going to leak, and it's going to go off, okay? And it's always going to go off to ground. And when there's a ground, it's going to more or less kind of be pulled, actually, because the path of least resistance is to ground. Well, since the ground is the shield of the cable, then there's always going to be a little bit of energy that's going to go from the center of the cable where your signal is to the outside of the cable and off the ground and be lost. The easiest frequencies to lose are super high frequencies, okay? So, and the longer the cable is, the easier it is for this to happen, and the more compounded it can get. So what is considered cable length? When the signal leaves the guitar, that starts your cable length. When it gets to the amp, that ends it, unless there's a buffer of some sort in between. So a lot of times, like a tuner will have a buffer in it. Anytime you're running an overdrive pedal that's on, any of your pedals that are actually on, they can serve, depending on the pedal, they can serve as a buffer, okay? And at that point, that signal's getting boosted, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those frequencies are getting put back in, okay? But they are getting boosted, so any overall loss is getting made up for by a pedal. And a lot of people are like, true bypass, true bypass, true bypass. Well, basically, if you have a whole pedal full of true bypass pedals and they're all off, then your cable length just became the 15 feet that goes to your pedal board, through your pedal board, so 6-7 feet of cable there, and then another 10 feet of cable to your amp. If you have true bypass pedals and they're all off, all of that is cable length. So it can compound and you can end up hearing it. I've looked into, and some of you may know why I did this, some of you may not. I'm not going to get into the details, but I've looked into this whole directional signal thing. And I already knew the answer, but I wanted to check. There are some people that think that if you run a guitar cable one way versus the other way, that it's going to flow better. The thing about an AC signal, especially something that is originated because of inductance, you got to remember that the pickup is the signal generator for our guitar signal. Okay? And the way it works is it literally is AC signal. So it goes positive, negative, and it actually, there is phase to it. Like it actually does go back and forth. That's why when you have them out of phase, it kills some of the frequency. It literally goes back and forth, okay? And people are going to say, well, no, it is always flowing towards ground. Well, some energy is always flowing towards ground. Yes, that is true. But AC signal that is caused by, especially all AC signal really is caused by inductance, whether it be a motor or whatever. But literally, the pickup is our motor, and it is AC signal. So it travels, but it doesn't move in the cable. It goes like this, but it doesn't move in the cable. So if you flip the cable around, it's not going to make any difference, because it's actually going back and forth in phase at whatever frequency. Like in your wall, it's 60 hertz. It's going back and forth at 60 hertz. In a guitar, it's going back and forth at whatever frequency you are introducing to it with the pick. Okay? Because remember that pickup is your electric motor. That pickup is your signal generator. That is the thing that is generating the signal. Okay? So yes, it is. So somebody's asking a question on here. And Carl mentioned, so we have two Carls here, sorry. So Carl Maltby mentioned, the solution is a low output impedance such as an active circuit or a line driver. And then the other Carl mentioned, so it's worthwhile to have at least one buffered bypass pedal in your chain. That depends on what you're trying to do, and it depends on if any of this matters to you. Some really high output pickups, let's say you have really high output pickup, like a DiMarzio Screaming Demon, or like a like a dime bag or something. And you're running it through a Boss tuner, then none of this is really going to matter as much, because that pickup doesn't have tons of highs in it anyway to get lost. And then you go straight to your Boss TU3 tuner, which has a buffer in it. Then after that, it goes off to your amp. So does it really matter? Not really. Are you going to hear a difference with a different cable that has a lower capacitance? It depends. Like, some people are going to hear a difference and some people aren't. Like, it depends on what you're playing. Because if you're playing a dime bag through a 15-foot cable to a TU3 with a ton of gain, it's possible that it's not going to make any difference whatsoever to you. If you're playing a telly clean into a twin, and you have a 20-foot cable going from your guitar to your amp with nothing in the middle, then you definitely, hang on, excuse me, then you probably, if you have an ear for it, will hear a difference. Man, excuse me. You'll probably hear a difference between those two things. I think I'm going to sneeze again. It might be all these peppers that I cut for breakfast that I've not done anything with. So, it's possible. Thanks, Carl. So here's an interesting thing. So Carl Maltby mentioned, what about a Strat through a curly cable? So there's a lot of people. So you play a Strat with no pedals straight into a twin. That is going to be a really bright and possibly very harsh sound, depending on what pickup you're using. So let's say you're on the bridge pickup of Strat, really low output, into a twin. That thing's going to be super, super bright. And you use one of those coily cables from the 60s. Has tons of capacitance in it. Tons. They're really high. But maybe it's the sound that you want. You could actually tune it. You know, actually I tested, for a new trick, I tested an end of a cable. It didn't work, by the way. That had a knob on it. This part worked. It just broke. It had a knob on it where you could actually adjust the capacitance of the cable. So low capacitance isn't always like, everybody's like, what's the lowest capacitance cable? But it doesn't really matter as long as it works in your tone and your signal chain. Personally, you know, the cables we make are like 21 picofarads per foot. Mogami 2524s are 39. Mogami 2319s are 42. So they're about twice. And for clarity's sake, you can hear a big difference on a 20-foot cable, even a 10-foot cable, between 39 picofarads per foot and 21. You can hear a difference in the right circumstances. Are you always going to hear it? No, but clean guitar signal, yeah, you can definitely hear it. Yeah, so okay, Brian May used curly cables off of his Red Special for years. And here's the reason. Because Brian May, those pickups that are in his Red Special are really low output single coils with really big magnets in them, and they have tons of high end in it. And if you ever talk to Brian May about his guitar tone, he wants high end. He actually uses an external top boost on, he has like a battery pack thing. It's an external one, so it goes from his amp, his guitar. And remember the other thing about him, is he also plays out of phase a lot. So out of phase is going to cut those mids way out. It's going to give him super highs. He plays into a wet, dry, wet AC30 setup with an external top boost that goes on his guitar strap right here. So he has so much high end going that, yeah, I could see him playing with a coily cord, and it makes total sense. So, what else were we going to talk about? Oh, shielding. Okay, so the other thing that was brought up to me yesterday, Ryan from 60 Cycle Hum and I were talking yesterday. I want to respect Ryan Burke. I could not remember his last name for some reason. From 60 Cycle Hum and I were talking yesterday about, is there any directionality to shielding in a cable? And is there directionality to shielding at all? Yeah, there kind of is. To ground. There's a huge misconception about what shielding does in a guitar. Shielding does not quiet a circuit down. What it does is, and I have a big, there's a good video on this on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, but I'll just touch on the high points right now. And in that video, I talk about a satellite dish. What a satellite dish, when you're watching TV, is it catches RF, radio frequencies, electromagnetic interference, not being, it's on purpose this time, but it catches radio frequencies in a dish. And it literally catches it and puts, it is like a guitar pickup. That's what it is. In that little thing that's on the stick on the satellite dish, it is basically like a guitar pickup. It captures radio frequencies and it sends it to an amplifier. That's exactly what a satellite dish does. That's exactly what your guitar pickups are doing in the room. So you have these lights up here. That RF is coming through the air just like sound or light or anything else. It's traveling, okay? It literally is going, it's in waves at a frequency. The interesting part about that is the waveform of 60 hertz, which is of RF that comes off of a 60 hertz transformer, which is in like an LED light or something. This is not in my video. So we have a fluorescent light up here. These are LEDs, but we have a fluorescent light up here on the wall. You're not hearing the 60 hertz hum in your guitar. You're hearing the RF. But it is at 60 hertz as it leaves the transformer in the light. The ballast in the light is what's making the noise. So when it comes through the air, the waveform is really long, actually. And there's math on this. I would need to find it and post it. But it's not little tiny waves. It's literally big, long waves. They're really long. And so whether you have shielding that has a little hole in it or something isn't going to matter. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make a satellite dish on your guitar that, instead of sending it to the pickup, sends it off to ground. So you want as many square inches as you can get away with of shielding on the guitar that is all connected to ground. Pickguard being the easiest. Do you need to shield your cavity of your guitar? Your control cavity of your guitar? In a word, no. Because the wires and everything, exactly. 11 meters, that's what it is. It is 11 meters. The only thing is, there's some multiple of that. You're right about 11 meters. There's some multiple of that applies. I can't remember, it's some part of the math. It comes down to like 48 inches or something. It's still really long. Yes, that's the base measurement for it, but I can't remember. There's a reason why like this long comes into my head, and I can't remember what that is, Carl. I'm gonna have to look that up again. But it's something to do with I don't know, it's a multiple or a division of that somehow, I can't remember. What you're talking about of the 60 hertz wave being 11 meters. But it's huge. It's huge. So, okay. What was I talking about just now? Oh yeah. Do we want to shield the control cavity of our guitar? You don't have to. And people go way nuts with this. Like, you have to have this Faraday cage around everything, completely encased in metal. And you know what? Yeah, that's probably the optimal way to do it. But remember, you're not shielding pots and wires and an output jack, because they are not attracting RF. Your pickups are attracting RF. Your pickups are attracting RF. Period. The other stuff is not. Now, if there's a ground in there and it's got a lot of noise in it from the RF, yeah, it's going to go through there into ground. But as long as it's well grounded, it's not going to add to the noise. The wires in your guitar are not going to add to the noise as long as they're soldered properly. Okay? If you have a bad ground, yeah. If you have a bad pot, yeah. If you have some unreliable resistance in there, whether it's a bad pot or, like I said, a bad ground or a bad contact on your output jack, yeah, that stuff's going to add noise. But as long as everything's nice and tight and working right, there's no reason to shield your cavity. Except for if you don't have a pickguard on your guitar and you're looking for extra square footage to shield somewhere so that you can have as much foil on that thing or shielding paint on that guitar as possible. So, I wouldn't say you would never do it, but I'm just saying don't go nuts with it because you're really concerned about the pickups. That being said, and people are gonna probably try to crucify me for this, but it's not bad to shield a guitar with humbuckers in it. They cancel hum, yeah, but they also still attract RF. So, you know, most people don't. But let's see. Somebody says, best simple shielding practice rather than obsessive chord singing. It's easy to do the 95%. Yeah, it's not hard. It really isn't hard. You just got to make sure it's grounded properly. So anyway, and the reason shielding came up and how it works is because Ryan Burke and I were talking about, there's a branded cable out there that we were talking about this directional signal thing, which is bogus. And we were also talking about, he said he read somewhere where that you could actually change the direction of noise depending on which way it's shielded. Which, in theory, would be true if the ground was over there and the noise was coming from over there and it would go that way. But that's not how you would hear it in the signal chain anyway. And we were talking about it in relation to cables. And you can't directionally change where the noise is coming from in a cable because with 97% or up to 100% shielding in a cable, it's soldered on both ends. So it's not going to go one way or the other. It's just going to go to ground. And if it hits the cable on that end, that's the closest ground. And if it hits the cable on that end, that's the closest to ground. So that's how it works. So that whole directional AC thing is bogus. I mean, in DC it would matter, kind of, but for completely different reasons, and doesn't even apply in this. It doesn't even make sense. So that's that. I know this video was a little bit all over the place, but I hope you learned some stuff, and I hope you actually got some questions from it, because if it was slightly confusing, then maybe you'll ask me some questions, and maybe I'll make another video soon. My name is Dylan, Your thoughts on differential amplifiers in as preamps. It's too early in the morning for that. I do want to do a video on that though. Actually. Thanks, Carl Francis. I've never had two people with the same name on before, as being the one person that commented right after the other. Yeah, Carl Maltby, I want to do a complete. We're gonna get into a few things. We're gonna get into the preamp stuff. It's early enough for Scotch bonnets. We're gonna get into a bunch of preamp stuff, and actually a bunch of. I want to do an actual demo on the floor with pedals, and we'll mock up a whole, not mock up, but set up a whole circuit and really discuss the whole preamp thing, because people, so that they understand. We're going to talk about gain stacking. We actually have a video on that, but it's good, but I want a better one. So we're going to talk about gain stages and what that does, and how to use your amp right, you know, as far as where you are in the. I made a pretty controversial statement earlier in the week on Facebook, and some people didn't like it, but that if you have a huge high-end tube amp and you run it really low and then put a bunch of solid state pedals after it, then really what you have is solid state drive, not tube drive, which is really true. So you might as well just go get a JC120 and call it good. Not really, but kind of. Maybe a type of cable question. A video on hooking up multiple amps and what cables, using the effects loop or use the input. What about using, hang on, I gotta hit the see more button, amps with different wattage. Okay, so there's a bunch of videos in that question. There's a bunch of videos in that question. So, a video on hooking up multiple amps, that's going to be a thing. So, stereo, like stereo, both wet, wet, dry, that sort of thing we can do for sure. And you would always use, just real quick, you would always use instrument cables to do that. The only time you ever use a speaker cable is from a head to a cabinet, ever. Using to use the effects loop or to use front end of the amp. Yeah, I'd love to do that. I have like one of the best effects loops on the market, and I never, ever, 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 ever use it. Probably should, but I don't. I just like the way it sounds. What about using amps with different wattages? Okay, so that's another thing that we're going to talk about, because that's exactly what I just was saying. The people, and I think people use too much power. As a rule, I think they don't need to use as much. I think you can get away with a 10 or 15 watt amp 90% of the time, unless you're playing a lot in front of a lot of people. And then there's microphones. So I have a 50 watt amp, and there's only 2 venues that I can play it at that I can actually run it like how you're supposed to run it, because it's too loud. And I also play it at home that loud. So my neighbors tell me. All right, man. Thanks y'all for the questions. I'm gonna definitely keep an eye out. Give me a shout when you plan that one. Oh yeah, on the preamps and differential amp stuff. Absolutely. Cool, man. Well, thanks everybody for popping on and being a part of it. I know it was a little, I know it was a little of a weird one. I am gonna go ahead and upload this to my YouTube though, which I don't normally with these. So sorry everybody on YouTube for being so bumbly and weird, but it's real life, man. We will catch up with y'all next time.